Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. I'm your host, Victor Rigoli, and goodness gracious, it's hard to believe that it's the third month of the year. Here it is, March already, and the first 2 months have just flown by. But I'm glad to be back in the studio. I've got a wonderful guest with me today. This is Kellie Day. Kellie, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Kellie is the owner, folks, of Patterson Island, and we'll talk a little bit about that shortly, who has made Perry, Georgia, your hometown or home area for the last 30 plus years. After raising and homeschooling her 6 children on their small farm with her husband, Ken, Kellie has focused her energy on refurbishing and operating Airbnb properties. Throughout Kellie's life, she has been drawn to various mediums of art, but her passions are acrylic painting and photography. So that's pretty cool. I love that. And you and I met, gosh, it was just about 10 days or so ago.
I know.
You know, and it just seems like we've just known each other for a long time.
Absolutely.
And you're just so easy to talk to. But we met there at your place on Patterson Island because you hosted a plein air event that I participated in. And I just had a blast. And I look forward to the next one. I've been talking it up to all my artist friends, and they're putting it on their calendar. So, hey, when it happens, we're going to come down and be there. So we're excited about that. But where does your artist story begin? Tell us a little bit about you and how, I mean, because you told me a little bit about how you and your husband have been involved with the Georgia National Fair as well. So maybe you could kind of incorporate that into your little talk. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
My artist story actually started when I was young, just drawing and painting from a very young age. And my parents were always encouraging me to follow that. So we were really fortunate because the town we lived in, it had a program within our high school. And it wasn't just like your typical art school program. Like we had multiple teachers and we had like our own dark room and
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a huge art program. And this one was just such a blessing in my life. Her name was Ruby Young. She was my high school teacher. So for 4 years, I was under her teaching in pretty much every medium there was. And she's really the one that fostered my love for photography, but she also helped me get into acrylic painting. Okay. And then eventually I actually got accepted to the Art Institute of Seattle and had planned to go in for graphic design, but our plans aren't always what we're going to do.
Life gets in the way sometimes.
It does, but it's still all good. I met my husband and we ended up having a beautiful family, but there's no telling where that journey would have taken me. But thankfully, I've been able to stay in the art community. And then once our kids started getting involved in the Georgia National Fair, I was able to participate in the judging there, but then also entering my own work in the fair photography. I got to win Best of Show one year, which was
fantastic. Congratulations.
My life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then ended up going
the ribbon to prove it, right?
Yep, yeah. Got the ribbon. I got my picture on the next year's program, all the things. But then they ended up asking me to judge the photography, and I did that for the Georgia National Fair, and then also for some of the art clubs in Macon for several years. So that was basically how I stayed involved in it that way.
Okay. That is so cool. Well, I got a question about that because, as we go along, I mean, I'll have different questions that pop into my head. So I don't necessarily go by a little script or anything. And so, we're just having this wonderful conversation. But in judging, what is it you look for? What is it that as a judge of photography that you kind of capture or you're looking for in judging maybe a first place or second place?
That's a good question.
Secret.
So, so judging photography and judging, other art mediums are two totally different animals.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Because, part of the photography part is what has that photographer done and captured with their equipment, whereas with art, it's more about the ability of the artist. You're playing with different factors with the other.
Yeah.
So one thing I did find with the judging at the fair was depend, because there's a panel of judges,
Right.
and I don't know if you've ever been part of that. You sit in kind of a semicircle, and you have your computer in front of you, so you're judging from your perspective, and then they average the placings. And
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah,
Well,
so
that's kind of how it's done, huh?
right, yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
it's
interesting.
very,
Good to
and
know. Yeah.
there they have people standing up in front of you, and they're lifting up pieces, and they're telling you which number. I mean, it goes really fast. But
Wow.
with that said, one thing I've noticed is that people that have never done photography before will judge it entirely different. If they're like an acrylic artist, they're going to judge it differently than a photographer will, because they don't understand the complexity of that medium. So anyway, it just all depends on the picture and how I judge it. A lot of it obviously has to do with focus, its ability, lighting, what kind of emotions that picture evokes. So the rubric is a little bit different for photography than it is for like a painting.
Right. So have you judged paintings before at the fair?
I have in the youth division, not not adults.
Okay.
They haven't trusted me with that yet.
Okay.
But my husband and I, we are one of the Purchase Award. So we do try to support the arts at the fair in that way.
We greatly appreciate that. Yeah, so much so. And I think when we talked last in person that you had mentioned something about being involved with 4-H as well, and maybe doing some judging with that. Have you done that in the past?
I have. I was a Georgia 4-H volunteer for 27 years, I think.
Wow.
I coached a lot of the Houston County teams, took them to nationals in other states. And then they would ask me to come in and judge what we call Project Achievement, which is a program where the student will create a resume of that particular subject for an entire year, and then they have to present a demonstration. And one of my daughters, because we have 6 kids, so one of them was very involved in art and also cooking, and I typically they would just usually have me judge the art demonstrations for that. Right. So for many years I got to judge DPA and the art projects, but I've done other ones too, but art was always my one I was more passionate about.
Okay.
So
and would you say you're more passionate about doing photography than you are in painting in acrylic?
Yes, but in recent years I haven't been as passionate about photography, and
I kind of moved in a way a little bit. It's still there, but
it's there. I still love it. Like if I see something and I have to capture it, but it was funny. It was several years ago. One of my girls said something about, "Mom, you need to put down the camera and pay, like, be part of us more." Like, and it really convicted me, because I went back and looked, and I had thousands. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, I have hard drives full of pictures, but it made me just really take a step back and try to be more present in the moment, instead of trying to capture it with my camera, try to remember it with my memory.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's tough to get that kind of feedback from your kids, but you took it to heart, and sometimes we need that. And, because as we get real passionate and real involved in certain things, hobbies or professions, it can distract us or take us away from those relationships that we have. And so as artists and creatives, photographers and what have you, there's got to be that balance.
Right. Exactly. It has to be
almost like that work-life balance. It's that creative life, family balance. And so you don't want to alienate them, because they support you. And so, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm just making a mental note that just be conscious of it.
Yeah.
And don't, get too, over the top with my involvement, that, hey, I've got a wonderful wife that supports me, but yet I need to be there for her too, like she's there for me. So, that's good advice.
And it's not to say that I don't take pictures. I mean, anytime I see something, that's beautiful and I have to capture it, I do. It's just, it's not what I focus on anymore. It's like
Yeah.
I wait for those, organic moments to take it rather than
Right.
try to find
Right.
something to take of it.
Right. Right. So how did you settle on acrylic? Did you try other mediums before? And you just what was
Well,
it about acrylic?
acrylic was really the medium I used a lot in high school. It was what I
Okay.
knew and what I was
Uh-huh.
familiar with,
And comfortable?
and comfortable.
Yeah.
And then I have tried watercolor. We have a very good friend who's a watercolor artist. He's actually not in the country anymore, but he would send us watercolor paintings, and I was always fascinated by it. And so I have tried to dabble in it, but as you know, it's such a challenging, just very much more complicated medium than acrylic.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Yes.
but I would love to try oil painting, and I'm hoping to take a workshop soon. You all inspired me that week
Oh,
that day. I
okay.
was
Well,
like, oh,
hey,
I have to
yeah,
do that.
that most definitely. And it was a pleasure meeting Laurel Daniel
Oh,
because
yes.
she's, I couldn't believe it when I met her, and I followed some of her work for a while, and was aware of her from some videos that I've seen. But anyway, I've looked into her workshop that she's going to have this fall, and I think you and I talked about that on the phone. And I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger and get signed up for that. In fact, I called down there at Anderson Fine Art Gallery on St. Simon's, and they says, "Well, we haven't opened up the registration yet, so check back in a couple 3 weeks." And I said, "Okay, I will." So I've already talked to my wife about it, and fortunately, my in-laws live in Jessup there, so I can be down there in an hour and 50 minutes or whatever to St. Simon's, and get up real early and drive down and stay with my in-laws and then go over every day. So I'm excited about that. So, but yeah, um, you want to get into oils, which is great because that's what I love doing. I love painting in oils, and I've tried a little bit with acrylic. But you mentioned something a little bit about watercolor, and one of the things that here recently I am trying to get into is using water brushes and watercolor. I had Carrie Waltz on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she does a lot of watercolor journaling. And I was just so inspired by some of her work. And I said, I could take those with me when I travel with my wife and we go on
Yes.
trips. And I could just go and just do some little watercolor paintings, sketches, kind of like, and have it documented. I don't have to take all my plein air stuff out. I could just take that with me and do a little color study or whatever, and then and take pictures, and then maybe come back and paint, something bigger. So it's wonderful that there's so many mediums out there that we can,
Yes.
work with. So, but whenever you're in town and around and you want to try to do some oil painting, let me know, and maybe we can get together and we can kind of,
Oh, I'd love that.
help you out a little bit. So yeah,
Yes, I'd love that.
yeah. Um, Now, what inspired you and your husband to do a plein air event there on your place in Patterson Island?
So I'm a huge fan of plein air. I just think
Okay.
it's just such a beautiful art. Not even just what the result of it is. Just watching an artist to me is it's just, I don't know. There's something about it, and I love plein air.
Yeah.
Just I just love the style of the painting, and
Right.
so I have several paintings of my own that we've purchased from other artists. And I kept thinking about what could we do to just use the beauty of Patterson, um, and who could we invite out that would actually just appreciate the beauty, because it is
Right.
such a raw, natural place, and it's
Yes.
just so hard to find the right people that will fit in and
Right.
not judge it for it not being developed, because it's
Right.
not. So I had seen where there was a plein air event, and I just mentioned it to a couple of my friends. We have friends that run the Macintosh Art Association in
Uh-huh.
Darien, and then
Uh-huh.
of course Kathy and
Yeah.
Susan
Was
Baraki,
that
and
Linda? Was that Linda
yeah,
Humphrey?
Lindy
Yeah.
Humphrey.
Got to meet
So
her. Yeah, that was
yeah,
super nice. Yeah.
so I have the benefit of being surrounded by a lot of very gifted
Okay.
artists, and I
All
kind
right.
of just kept asking them, "What do you think? What do you think?" And they were like, "I think you should do it."
Yeah.
So we kind of just bit the bullet and did it, and just tried it
Yeah.
just to see. And I was shocked, happily, of
Yeah.
how responsive everyone was and how much everyone loved it,
Oh,
because it's
yeah.
hard to find the right people to bring out there that don't need to stay connected to technology or have constant entertainment in their face. Obviously Patterson's not the place for you if you can't just
That's
unplug and enjoy it.
That's right. That's right. And that's the thing I think I liked about it the most. I mean, it was a neat little boat ride over to the island, which was, folks. We'll talk a little bit here in a minute about your place. I've got some photos I want to share, but that was so neat. Just being able to, okay, there's nothing out here but the two houses,
Yeah.
and if you come and stay there, which I encourage people to reach out to Kellie and book a reservation and come and stay. But you got to bring your own food because
Yeah.
there's kitchens that you can cook and do your own thing. But just to have nothing to do and
Yes.
relax and commune with nature. I walked just about the whole island there around, which was so cool, and saw a lot of wildlife and everything. And it's so peaceful out there. It's just a wonderful,
Absolutely.
wonderful place. And I greatly appreciate you and your husband, doing that. Such wonderful host people. I mean, we had food, I mean, they had coffee and drinks and stuff for us that morning, and then stuff for lunch, and just made it such a wonderful event. And yeah, I think there were what, like 10 artists, 10 of us, I think, that day, or something like that, maybe 10 or 11, something
Yeah, I
like
think there were 11. Yeah, so I think we had a couple more. I think they were a little hesitant once they saw that there wasn't once they found out they couldn't just drive over.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I
It
imagine that turned some people away,
yeah. So
but that's
hope,
part of the adventure. The way I look at it, I mean, it's just like, hey, load up all your stuff, get on that boat, go over and paint all day and enjoy the day. And the wonderful thing is it wasn't like everybody needs to leave right now, kind of thing. You ask people, hey, you want to hang around for a little while and chill out? And I think some people did. And that was wonderful too. And I think Michelle, I don't know if she's come down there and stayed yet.
she did. She actually just left yesterday.
Okay, good.
I wasn't there with them. Ken
Okay.
was, but he said they had an amazing
A
time.
good time. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So that was really good to hear.
Yeah. And I made some connections with Michelle and a few others, and they've invited me to come down to St. Simon's and join them on Tuesday mornings to do some plein air painting. So I'm looking at my calendar as to when I can come down and crash at my in-laws and get up that morning and go over and paint with the group. And that's the thing too. And I appreciate you doing this, because that artist community, and you probably
Right.
have experienced this too. Artists, we need that community. And when you
Yes.
go out and meet other artists that have the same interest, I don't care if you're good at it or you're an expert at it. It's just the experience, I think, because
It
I'm
is.
learning. I mean, that's not something I do every day, but I've gone out. I went out last week and did some plein air painting. And some friends of mine are going down to Tybee this coming Saturday to do some plein air painting. And hopefully in the next week or two, I'm going to get out and do some more. So I'm looking forward to the next time you guys host it. So we'll definitely, hopefully, Kellie, you'll have to turn some people away because you can only accommodate so many. And that's a good problem to have.
Yes.
That's a good problem to have. Yeah.
Well, I did actually talk to Laurel about us doing a workshop this summer out at the island. So that would just be amazing if she would accommodate that.
Yeah, if that could happen, I think, wow, that would be so wonderful. Yeah, so wonderful.
But I don't think I'll be serving you all food then, because I'm going to be part of the workshop.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could all take turns cooking. I mean, we all chip in and whatever, and bring it over, and hey, it's my turn to do breakfast or whatever, lunch or dinner. Yeah, I think it'll be a great time. I want to show some of your art, okay? Some of your paintings. I'm going to bring that onto our little stage here. And so just talk to us a little bit about these paintings here. These are acrylic, correct?
Yes,
okay.
They're all acrylic.
Okay. And how about that one on the left? That looks like a kind of a beach scene there. So
it is a beach scene.
Where was that at?
So that is on Longboat Key, which is, we have a family home on Longboat, which is where I am actually today. Okay. And the beauty of this painting now, in hindsight, is those dunes are actually were wiped out by Helene, so they're not even in existence anymore.
Oh, I hate that.
Well,
I really
yes,
do.
but I have that painting
Captured
here.
it.
Yeah, I captured it before.
Yeah.
So that is our favorite beach, and it's Whitney Beach here on Longboat. So
wow,
it's one of my favorite places in the world.
It's beautiful.
And then,
yeah.
Thank you. It was a challenge trying to capture shadows. It was probably one of my first times trying to do that.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one isn't really of anything. We have a farm in Middle Georgia, just outside of Perry.
No mountains in Middle Georgia, so it's you were just inspired to paint it, probably. Right?
Yeah. Well, you paint it and then you start adding stuff into it. So, yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of being an artist. You can add in there whatever you want.
Exactly.
It's your painting.
Right? Yeah, you can make it whatever you want to make it. So that's that painting. It's not of any certain point that I've been, but maybe a conglomeration of a bunch.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, this is a roadway where I was walk, and there was the trees falling across, the shadows fall across the road, and it's just, I don't know. As an artist, you know this, you pick up things, you look at things differently than everybody else looks at them.
You do.
So
you see colors different.
Absolutely. And then you also see light differently. So, when and I'm sure you do this too, I'm sure everyone that paints does, when you watch the light filter through the trees, and that's what I was trying to capture there. It didn't really come across the way I wanted it to, but
right.
It's there. And then the other one is one that I actually had seen something, painting, or not a painting, a picture, and I was trying to capture it. The houses didn't turn out the way I liked, but the smoke did. And I loved how because, some of those things are hard to capture.
Yeah.
So it's funny how, like, if you do something really good in a painting, you love the painting, and it's that one little tiny element, but that would be the case for that one. I don't necessarily love the way the houses turned out, but I love the way the smoke did. So
the thing about painting, and I think every artist will attest to this, is every time you paint, you learn something new.
Absolutely. Yeah. You never stop learning.
Yeah. If you're not learning something new, then maybe you need to kind of stretch yourself to grow a little bit. And
exactly.
Yeah, because I always look at something and says, well, I could have done this better. But I like the smoke, like you said there, hey, this turned out great, or that sky was just dead on, but maybe my grass needs some work, or whatever the case may be, or my greens or whatever. So it's a learning experience. Constantly
it is.
learning. Yeah.
And I think art just humbles you as a person, and it makes you realize you're not ever going to master it. I mean, a true artist, you're always going to find something that you could, do better. And so it's a good life lesson, I think.
It is. The thought that just came into my head here, life lesson, with art, I know with oil paint, in life, sometimes you don't get a do-over, but then sometimes you do get a do-over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes with oil painting, I can do a do-over, because if it's not turning out the way I like it, it's still wet, I can wipe it off and I can start over. Now, I guess you could do kind of the same thing with acrylic once it's dried, and maybe you sand down the rough edges and then, gesso over it and then paint something new on it. But that's the thing, is just, hey, sometimes we're going to make mistakes, but if we can make some corrections and do better the next time and learn from it, then, life is good. And so this is a photo that you took.
So this photo was actually taken at Rock Eagle 4-H Center, which was one of our favorite places when our kids were growing up. We spent many days there, and my husband Ken actually affectionately called it the lake house, even though we would stay in little cottages with the kids. You get one room to stay in, but it was always the joke. He'd say, "Are you going to the lake house this weekend?" Because I would be going with the 4-Hers or my own kids, or however I happened to be getting there. But it was one of my favorite spots. I would walk around the edge of the lake in the mornings, and sometimes it was like this, where it was just completely still. Sometimes you'd see them fog coming off the water. It was just a
Oh, I bet
beautiful
that was
spot.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
one
was
of my
beautiful.
favorite places. So
Yeah. And folks, she has a lot of other photos, but I think that we have this in common, Kelly. We don't always remember where we put them, on what drive or what thumb drive or backup drive, the thousands that
yes.
we may have, but
My poor kids will have a lot to sort through one day when I'm not here.
yeah, I hear you. Why did Mom save all these pictures for? What are we going to do with all these? That's great.
That's funny.
Yeah, I've been up there many, many, many years ago, and I just don't have much memory. But that is a beautiful scene right there. Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty.
It is.
This is something that you and I talked a little bit before we started the interview. Is we were exploring and experimenting a little bit with watercolor.
Yes. So watercolor was a medium I never really attempted until I got into my adult years. And so my daughter had her watercolor set sitting out. And I thought, well, I'll just try it, and just had the idea to paint a feather. And that's how that came up. But that was about as far as I got. And then I didn't pick it up again.
Well, in the future, there may be time for you to do that. And that's the way it is with a lot of things. We just have to set that priority and make that time. But I thought you did a great job on that feather.
Well, thank you.
Especially watercolors, from what I understand, is one of, if not the hardest medium to work with.
I feel that it's very challenging. I admire anybody that can master it.
Oh, I do too. I mean, there's folks that I was just blown away as to the talent that they have in being a watercolor artist. It's just like unbelievable.
There was actually one at the Plein Air. Was it Deborah?
I think Deborah and I thought Michelle did a little bit with watercolor too.
Michelle did too. She did the bottle. That
Yes.
was amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
she did. So yeah, there were several at the
Yeah,
Plein Air.
that's true. And that was so neat. Folks that want to try to do plein air, is it doesn't really matter what your medium is. Acrylic,
Right.
you could do gouache. We had people doing pastels. In
Right.
fact, I think the person that won and the runner-up were both pastel paintings.
They were. It was, Anna and Olga,
Yeah.
a mother-daughter pair.
Yeah.
So that was pretty inspiring too.
And I was just so impressed that they came prepared. They had their frames, the glass, everything. And
Everything.
16 by 20 or 18 by 24. I mean,
They were huge.
And I loved how they did the panoramic view. Mom did the left side and the daughter did the right side, and you put them side by side. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're so creative. They thought so much out of the box. And as you remember, it was a gray, gloomy kind of morning.
It was.
And it started misty and sprinkling. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But just persevering.
Yep. A 0% chance of precipitation. So the weather people were totally wrong.
They were wrong. But maybe they were thinking that afternoon, because that afternoon it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous.
It was a beautiful day.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. Beautiful day. All right, folks. This is Kelly and Ken's place here on Patterson Island. They have what I've nicknamed the big house and little house, or big house and small house. And the one on the left is the big house, and that's the walkway going up to it. So I won't take your thunder away. I'll let you talk about these pictures here. These are some that I took while I was down there, and these are just a portion of the many that I took when I was down there. So, yeah.
Well, Patterson Island was given to John McIntosh in 1771 as a gift from King George, and I know a lot of people don't like to talk about this kind of history, but it was a plantation. Mm-hmm. And it was sold by John McIntosh and went through a series of owners into the 1800s. The Pattersons owned it in the early 1800s, and it was a wife and her two sons from the marriage to John. His name is actually John Patterson. And then he passed away, and then she remarried, and I think his name was Vaughn. He was the man who started Sapelo. But she stayed on the plantation with her slaves, and they also had Irishmen that worked out there. And then unfortunately, they all perished in the flood, and I believe it was in 1836. And so the plantation was pretty much wiped out then. And the two Irishmen survived. They climbed a tree, and it was actually like in the newspaper of how they survived, because I believe the storm surge was about 18 feet high. So if you can't even picture that. So there is a tree that sits back behind the big house. Obviously, that's not the original home. We believe that tree is about 500 to 600 years old. And we're fairly certain that's the one they climbed up in, since all of the buildings were up in that same general area where the big house is. And we do call it the big house too.
Okay.
So, but there are still tabby ruins on the property. We still have some of the slave shacks is what we believe. We have had professors from UGA that have come out and actually done their dissertation on Patterson. So we have a lot of factual history about it. They've done soil samples and that type of thing. And thankfully, the previous owners took several steps to try to preserve the ruins, for others to see, which is, I feel like, really important, especially because tabby is just such a lost art. We don't build houses that way anymore.
That's true. Yeah.
And so we are working to try to create plaques for others to learn about what was there, because I believe if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it.
That's true.
But we do just try to share the beauty of Patterson with others. It they were trying to develop it actually when we purchased it, which I feel like would have been a tragedy. They were trying to put about 50 homes on the property.
Oh, I'm so glad they didn't do that.
Yeah. So we were very fortunate to have the opportunity to take ownership of it. And we are doing everything we can to try to preserve it where it's at now, and then share it with others. We've been in contact with some of the coastal resources agents. They've been out there. They've hosted cleanups with youth and that kind of thing to kind of share, because it is one of the few islands that hasn't been developed on the Georgia coast. They're getting very few and far between at this point. And so it's an incredible property with an incredible history. And we just love that we're able to share it with others and just show them the raw beauty and, natural just content of the Georgia coast.
Right. Yeah. The big house, how many bedrooms does it have?
So the big house actually was originally what we've heard was called a yacht club or a boat club, something like that. But so that's why each room has its own separate entrance. So there's 6 bedrooms. They're all en suites. They all have a private entrance, just like a hotel. They have their own key. So, no one else has access to that room when there are guests staying here. It does have as you know, a large living space with an open kitchen and living room and dining room. Right. And then it has the front and back porches that are pretty substantial in size. So it can sleep up to 11 in that house if everyone's in a bed. We do make accommodations for families if they want like a rollaway, or some of the rooms are larger. You could put a blow up in it. We don't encourage that, but if it's a family, we're happy to accommodate them, and we have done that before.
It's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So
perfect. Yeah. And then you have the one on the right, which is the smaller cottage.
Yes.
Yeah, so and it's 1 bedroom, correct?
It's 1 bedroom, and oddly enough, 2 bathrooms. So the cottage actually, if you look at historic photos, was a typical 2-story southern house that had wraparound screen porch upstairs and downstairs. And Patterson was substantially damaged during Irma. And so they did a lot of repairs. The big house was completely renovated after that hurricane, because they did take on a good bit of water. The cottage with the entire downstairs was removed. I guess they just felt like it wasn't financially feasible to repair it. Plus, it probably, is inclined to flood again,
Right.
just because of, what we've been dealing with in recent years with hurricanes. So it does have the 1 bedroom, 2 full bathrooms, and then it has the kitchen and living area, and then that beautiful porch that looks all the way out to the Sapelo Island Lighthouse and the Atlantic Ocean. So
Right. Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier before we started the interview this afternoon, and we were standing on that porch, and I just love the view. And you said if you look over here a little bit to this way, you'll see the Sapelo Island Lighthouse, and I'm squinting and trying to thing. Yeah, it's right here, Victor. He's got it. And then I remembered, oh, there's some binoculars in the house. So I went and got those and looked. Yeah, there it is. I can see it now. But yeah, that is just so neat that you can see that. And I've heard, and you may know this, I heard at one time that somebody was trying to do some development there on Sapelo Island. Is that true?
Recently, yes. So a lot of people were not happy about that. So there's an area out there, and I don't know all the details of it, but there's an area out there called Hog Hammock where the descendants of the Geechee Gila people still live. And so they're still living in the homes that, they were given after the Civil War, and direct descendants. And so there's always been a restriction on the size of the houses out there. I don't know what the square footage is. But in recent years, actually, since we've purchased Patterson, there's been some lawmakers that are trying to make it to where it could be increased. And then if that's the case, then it could, spawn development, widespread development out there. And I know a lot of us are not really excited about that because, Darien, Georgia is kind of one of the last few little coastal towns that's still considered rural, and it's a small town. It's a beautiful town. I mean, they've done a tremendous job, restoring the old buildings and having businesses there that are thriving. But unfortunately, as we've seen everywhere, developments are coming. But I do believe they've stopped that bill for the Sapelo Island. So that's a good thing because, what they say, once the land's gone, you can't get it back. So.
Yeah, and you don't want that encroaching on you guys there. So,
right.
Yeah, we've stayed a couple of times at Oaks on the River. There.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's a beautiful place, and we like to do getaway weekends and trips. Back when our kids were young, with her parents living there in Jessup, Georgia, we would drop them off, and Tammy and I would go down sometimes to the island and for her birthday in July and just make a long weekend and that kind of thing. So we like to do little trips like that. And like I said, we've been down there a couple times and stayed and got to meet some people, went over to the Jailhouse Art Museum there.
Yes.
I talked to Linda a little bit about that, and then met some people there in some of the little shops, and just love it. Of course, they have great seafood restaurant down there too.
Yes, absolutely.
Been there a few times, but yeah. Hopefully they'll never do any development over there on Sapelo.
I hope not. That would be a shame.
Yeah. So this was, here's a couple of pictures that I took, and the one you can talk about that upper left-hand side of the kitchen living area. I was just impressed at how wide, how big it is, how open it is. I love that. So. Yes.
So that is our main living area for the big house. There is one master bedroom off of there. So that's the entrance for the master. But the rest of the bedrooms, as I said, are off of the porch. Right. It just is a nice open concept. There's a lot of space. There's seating for 10 people at the dining table, and then you have the bar area. Right. And then, actually behind the kitchen too is the butler's pantry. So it gives you room to kind of spread out and keep your stuff, wherever, if you're staying there. But the beauty of it too is that it opens to the front and back porch. So it allows you to kind of expand your visiting areas outside of just being indoors, which is nice, which that day was just gorgeous. So we couldn't have asked for better weather in the afternoon, I don't think.
It was perfect. And I think I had like 3 or 4 shots of the porch. And this one I chose because you're looking out and seeing the water, and that's why I included it. But one of the things in the house there's a fireplace, right?
It is. It's not functioning.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been capped. But we are talking about doing gas logs just because,
oh, wow.
especially this year when we've had so much snow when we're out there. We're like, it'd be so nice to have a fire. But we do have a fire pit on the front lawn, so that makes it nice. Right next to
a lot of nice Adirondack chairs out there. And so, folks, I mean, you could have a large group out there and socialize, and even, just a couple doing a weekend getaway kind of thing.
Absolutely.
It'd be nice. Bring books to read and just chill out and, get away and unplug. But this is a big porch.
Oh, it's huge.
We had, 11 or so artists. There were some other people there, you and your husband, the lady that was assisting with judging, I can't remember her name, but so we had a lot of people there. Yeah, Ann. Okay, yeah. There were a lot of people on the porch, and you had plenty of room. It's wonderful.
Well, and we have done small weddings, and we did what's called a styled shoot for people that are doing advertising and promotions. And when we did the styled shoot, they actually did a table. I think it was for like 20 people out on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't so crowded. And then they did a cake table and a champagne table. So you can fit quite a bit out on that porch. It's quite substantial.
Yeah. I think this is the smaller house, smaller cottage. And it's just a couple of, kind of shows a little bit of the living area and then the kitchen.
Yes.
They're there too. So, yeah. That's our host, Kelly, there in the upper left-hand.
Not the best picture.
Yeah, probably not. Sorry about that. But anyway. But yeah, that's just kind of give folks an idea of the openness of this cottage as well. So you don't feel like, even though it's a 1-bedroom, you don't feel like it's like a little apartment, little studio type suite thing. Got plenty of room to move around. And, so full kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Full kitchen. It does wrap around there. There's a pantry, back across from the refrigerator. So you have more room in there too. But and then both, obviously they can't see, but it opens out onto the porch. There are 2 French doors that open out towards the Intracoastal and the Atlantic Ocean.
I should have included a picture of that. I don't think I did, but these are I think the last 2 pictures, and these were just some that I took as we had boarded the boat and making our way back over to where we parked our vehicles. And then the one on the left, I think you and I talked a little bit before about, hey, I'm going to try to, I think it would make a good painting, so I've got to explore that a little bit. But the one on the right does show the cottage, and hopefully, folks, you can see, the porch there. And you're right. I mean, you could sit out there and enjoy the evening, and just beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the way that we are facing, we can watch the launches from Cape Canaveral.
Can you really?
Yes, we watched them. So that's pretty amazing. Depending on which way they're launching, sometimes it's northeast, sometimes it's southeast. If it's northeast, we can see the launch. So
you can catch it. Yeah,
pretty amazing.
That would be amazing. Wow, that is so cool. Yeah, I love that place down there, and like I said, I look forward to coming back down there, and hopefully in the near future, maybe if you guys do another plein air event in the fall, or at least do it annually, sign me up. I'll be down there for sure.
Absolutely.
So
we'd love to have you.
More folks to come down. But yeah, I've got some kind of rapid fire questions I want to ask you. Is there anything, before I do that, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewing and listening audience about your place? And I want to include in the show notes how to contact you. so that
Yes.
people can reach out to you via either email or by social media, that kind of thing. So if you do have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, whatever, send that information to me in an email, and I want to include that in what I call the show notes, both on Facebook as well as on the YouTube channel. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Promote that. But anything that you'd like to share, or anything that we didn't cover that you feel that might be important before I go into my rapid fire question?
Not that I can think of. I mean, we just, I've just enjoyed getting more involved in the art community down in Darien. Obviously, have had lots of connections in Middle Georgia, which is, phenomenal. I think we do a great job of supporting artists in our area, and but it's neat to see how they do it in other areas too, and then kind of bridge those gaps, because there were so many artists that came from the Middle Georgia area, which kind of shocked me how many came all the way down to Darien. But then the beauty of it was too that we had some that were from down the coast, and it created more connections of people that might not have ever met each other in any other circles.
That is so true.
That was pretty neat.
I think the mother-daughter pair there, they were from Marietta, I believe.
They were. I couldn't believe it.
I said, where are y'all from? And they said, Marietta. Oh my gosh. They came down, they stayed in Savannah and got up and drove over.
They did.
It's like, wow. And I learned a lot from them. I found out about another plein air event that's at Providence Canyon there, not too far from where I'm at. And they do that in the fall. And I think it's usually around the first weekend in November. So if you plan your event again, don't have it that weekend, or have it that weekend. I don't care. Whatever works best for you. But then the guy that won, Preston, came from Waycross.
Yes.
That was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people from St. Simons, and of course, Mac over in Darien, Linda came, which was good. But like I said, I've talked it up, and I've had a lot of people show some interest. So hopefully next time we'll have a better representation from Warner Robins and Middle Georgia and Perry. So your homeland right now. So
well, I appreciated everybody making the effort to be there. It was
wonderful.
Such a fun day.
And the thing about it is, folks, we had the best hostess. Kellie and her husband Ken. I mean, you couldn't ask for better. I mean, so accommodating, and I think that made it all worthwhile.
Well, thank you.
You just made it all worthwhile. All right, got some questions for you. What's your favorite holiday and why?
Oh, my favorite holiday is Christmas. And it's because it's when all of my children come home and we get to all be together, and there's no agenda. We get to just have some time off and just play games, make gingerbread houses, all those things, all the fun things in life.
Are they just spread out all over the place? Or are they?
For the most part, our 4 youngest actually live in Perry. Well, one of our daughters just got married, so she's in Dublin, but I still consider her Middle Georgia.
She's Middle Georgia.
Our oldest daughter lives in Greenville. She's moved there a year ago. And then our son lives out in Kansas with his wife and their 3 kids.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. I think it would be the ability to give everyone peace and joy in their hearts.
I love that. Yeah. I haven't had that. You know, people talk about X-ray vision or time travel and stuff like that, or be able to fly. But I love that. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue, but not just like a generic blue, more like a dusty blue.
Okay.
Almost smoky blue, I guess.
Smoky blue.
Mm-hmm. I
haven't seen that one on the color wheel, but we could mix some paint together and come up with a smoky blue. Yeah. Maybe some Payne's gray and some old blue or something. Yeah. All right. This is an art kind of related question, but describe for me what would be your dream art studio.
Oh, boy.
Had unlimited resources, what would be your dream art studio?
This might sound really primitive. Have you ever seen the movie Message in a Bottle with Kevin Costner?
Yeah.
His wife's art studio, where she's in that corner overlooking the water, and she's got so much natural light, and her easel's like right up there, and it's kind of, I mean, obviously most art studios aren't super clean anyway, but it's just kind of everywhere, and her paintings are just everywhere. It's just I don't want to say primitive, but just so, I guess, welcoming feeling.
Right.
You just like, you could just get lost in there in a good way.
When you were describing that, I thought, if you guys live permanently on Patterson Island, there would be no little house. It would be the studio.
Exactly.
I mean, look at the light that's coming in.
I know.
You could open up the doors or the windows. You've got the big living room area. You've got a built-in kitchen. If you got hungry, you could go fix something or pull something out of the refrigerator. You got tired, you go lay down and take a nap. I mean, you got a bathroom. That would be the ideal, and just paint all day.
Well, I have a secret. I've got a secret. I'm going to tell you.
All right.
So Patterson has a baby sister. Yeah, so there's little Patterson.
I think you mentioned something about that. Yeah, on the back side.
On the back side. Yeah. So gotcha. It actually has a house that is just like what we're talking about with that studio. It's Pecky cypress inside. It's got windows completely around the whole house. There's no solid walls anywhere in it. It's just all open, completely surrounded by marsh, 360 degrees. So if I could move out there, that's where I would be.
Man, that is awesome.
But nobody would probably ever see me again in my lifetime.
Yeah. You'd be a hermit out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll have to go
so
visit.
Cool. Yeah, if you ever get that set up and everything, that would be kind of a neat little field trip for folks. But hey, come on out here to the studio. Look at this. Hey, you could rent it out.
That's a good idea.
You could rent it out, or has it got a bedroom in it?
Yeah, it's got 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. But
you could rent it out as a weekend getaway, secluded paint place with the marsh and everything. Oh my gosh, brainstorming here. Got ideas. All right,
you got it.
Yeah,
I could hire you as the manager.
There you go. Hey, I'm there. I'll have to convince my wife, but yeah.
But she'd be closer to her parents.
So true. It was 50 minutes away. We're like close to 3 hours now. 2 hours and 45 minutes to 3 hours, depending on how many times we need to stop. So. This has been great. Kellie, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you coming on the podcast today to talk a little bit about art, talk a little bit about your background, photography, and especially Patterson Island and what you have there and how you're sharing that with the art community. And it was just a blast being down there about a week or so ago. Look forward to getting back down there soon. So
it would be an honor to have you.
Yeah. Tell your husband, Ken, hello for us. It was a pleasure meeting him and look forward to seeing him again. And thanks everybody for tuning in today. It's been wonderful. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to help the channel grow. Share this with your friends, your fellow artists, and please reach out to Kellie if you want more information about Patterson Island and planning a trip down there to spend a few days or a few weeks, whatever works best. And we'll put the information down in the show notes so you can reach out to her and Ken and get more information. But take care, everybody, and take care, Kellie. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. We'll see you. Bye. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. We really appreciate our audience and would love to hear about other artist stories you'd like for us to share. Please email us or leave a comment. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and like and subscribe. Keep painting, everyone.